Hello, hello. Welcome to episode 28 of BINJ Live. I'm your co-host, Jason Pramas. And let's see, I have to do it backwards. There we go, is the other co-host who are you? Can I not hear you, Chris?
I was saying,
there we go.
I was talking about how great my mic is going to sound this week, ironically. Chris
It's
Faraone,
lovely.
the other host, and we're trying to get these tech problems out of the way. But how many times have we done this?
28. This is the 28th time. We've done some shorts and stuff through this system as well.
That's pretty.
But hey, we have a guest down there, Madison Lucchesi, reporter, and I'm styling you as reporter and former BINJ intern. But why don't you tell us who you are, Madison?
Yeah, I mean, that is correct. I am a reporter and a former BINJ intern. I guess I was an intern summer and fall 2024, and I have one semester left studying journalism at Emerson College, so I'll be out in December into the real world, as they say. And this summer, I'm just continuing freelancing for Cambridge Day, business and art stories, and hoping to just continue doing that.
Cool. And
cool.
I want to get to all of that, but just tell us what right now, what have you been looking at? What are you interested in? What is the thing, whether it's something you're covering or just something in the news that you're around here.
Today I was actually at the S&S restaurant in Cambridge.
Oh yeah, it's closing. Yeah.
So,
the original BINJ office was across, or the second BINJ office was first was in Roxbury, then we were across the street. Right there.
Yeah, I never went to the one in Roxbury, so yes.
No. Well, the office. No, I'm talking about when we were Press Pass TV, our original.
Yeah.
Oh, but
I never went over there. I never set foot there.
Dedicated BINJ office was across the street, right there. Yep. And Jason, how many meetings did we have at S&S?
A lot. I mean, because we had a dinky office, so I mean, if the weather was bad and stuff.
We had to impress somebody. Yeah. It was over pickles and knishes. Right. And that's gonna, also it's one of those stories. Are you doing a story, or are you just going there for a sandwich?
I'm doing a story for Cambridge Day. So
whoa, that's a big story to do.
Yeah, it should be out Thursday in the print edition.
So you just
give us some of that history.
Yeah. So I mean, 107 years in business. It's no small feat to have been able to do that. I was talking to the owner, Gary Mitchell. His great grandmother started it back in 1919, and it's just been a family business since, so it's fourth generation, but unfortunately the next generation of the family does not want to take over, so they decided now was the time to kind of close the business and just celebrate the history of it all. But they're actually not going to sell the building, they're going to rent it to hopefully the next legacy business to kind of make sure that it doesn't end up being a chain or anything.
Now, did you happen to? I suppose you don't know about the big controversy with them from about 15-ish years ago or whatever, right? About the way they had the club Riles across the street that a lot of us liked. Yeah, and then they shut it down and built condos on top of the structure, and then let a bank rent it. So instead of an awesome place to have brunch and listen to jazz or whatever other music they were programming there, we get a bank.
Of course.
So that was you didn't know about that? Okay, that's
no,
cool.
I didn't.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
they own. That's a significant slice of the neighborhood. It goes through. It walks through. It's a walkthrough. It covers the backside and the front side. So but just an absolute legacy. I'm glad Jason can always point out the flawed legacy, as we did. With the listen, it's reality, isn't it? And
I spent a lot of my life in that place, honestly, and I love it. So I'm not trying to say, oh wow, I hate us. In fact, there's a lot of people you'll probably notice, Madison, if you go on, especially Cambridge Reddit. What, Chris?
Errol Morris hangs out there.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people do. I'm just saying, that people diss the food, the service, whatever. And it's like with Mike's in Davis Square, where I may or may not also frequent. Not like I like to tell people where I am, but I don't understand the criticism. I'm not sure what it is people expect exactly. If you're going
standby, you know what I mean? And the other thing is how many places can you really get a pastrami sandwich these days, or breakfast in the afternoon? There are some basic, or a goddamn bagel in Greater Boston. So there are certain things, and as a New Yorker, And it wasn't just Phil. I guess, it was scratching an itch, but also I always love the food, and I will be missed. And you can complain. It's not your typical story. It's not or it's not the story we get so much in Boston and Cambridge, right? Where they run out of town. Listen, some things just end, and I'm okay with that. And I would like to. How much longer are they going to be there?
Like 2 weeks. They're closing June 7th.
Oh, I'm gonna get over there. Did you do some Vox Populi stuff? Talk to some random people, or how did you do it?
Well, actually, the owner ended up taking me like table to table to talk to some of the regulars, and people were all just, the consensus is very much that everyone's going to miss it and that they've been going their entire lives. Yeah. Which is interesting because I hadn't heard of SNS until they announced their closure, which was crazy because as someone who's from Revere,
there we go.
Those types of places are like my bread and butter. Like I'm still talking about the Hilltop closing.
You are? You're talking about the Hilltop closing? Really?
Yes, I loved the Hilltop.
What were you, like 3 when it closed? Like I don't know.
It was like 10 years ago, 12 years ago, 13.
Seems longer than that.
I had to be.
It was when we took 10. Over. It was a little. You were young. I mean, I'll tell you, and
I used to go too. That's why. Yeah.
Jason mentioned the Vox Populi, and I'll just say it's not the story of what happened with SNS, but with the Hilltop, we did go up there. Dan McCarthy, myself, Derek Kiyumjian, Jeff Lawrence, rest in peace. And the moral of this story was that a lot of the headlines of the reporters who, unlike what you did, you actually went today, probably had some food, talked to people. Yep. The reporters who just were making things up were saying, the story was that families aren't going out for meals and this and that. And bullshit. We went and interviewed like 30 people. We drank a lot too. We had fun with it. We went to all the other surrounding places and then the Hilltop, and we interviewed people. You know what every one of them said? They said that, since the takeover, there was, a couple of different owners and corporate this, and this was, before the real venture capital take. But actually, that's not true. I think the last owners were, just garbage. And everybody said the same thing. They were, one guy's words were like, I used to go in there and like for $12.99 get a steak the size of my head and a mashed potato. And now, it's like, you go in there and they take advantage of you. So this is a different story at SNS. Again, we said they're done, and it's a generational thing, and I respect that. But listen, every place has a different story, and I don't want to see it blamed on the patrons when people will go if you give them a good deal and something, which is hard for places to do. So I'm sorry, go ahead, Jason.
The generational thing is because I don't know if you all are, but I'm on all these different boards on social media, like in this case, I'm thinking of New England style Chinese food, so-called, right? Which is actually several styles. And a lot of those old school Chinese American restaurants are going down for exactly the same reason that SNS has just told you. And I think it's very real. Like they do well over time, and the kids or grandkids or whatever, great grandkids are like, nah, we're going to be doctors and lawyers or whatever, or we don't want to do this. Because it's very hard work.
Property too, so the money's ultimately the property, and if you've been around for a century, you're well aware of that. Yeah. You really gotta love it, and honestly, man, it's punishing work. It's not you could get as wealthy as you want, but you still have this business to run like 8 days a week. It's insane.
Right.
What did you hear, Matt? I just wanted to ask that before. Give us one spoiler. Like what's something that I don't know. We already gave us the end date, but just something that you learned. Going over there?
I mean, going over there, I really just learned like how much people are going to miss that place and just what it means to the community. Because like Inman Square, it's in the middle kind of 2 T stops. It's a little small kind of area. And the owner was reading me an email he got from someone who used to live up here and moved to Florida, saying how upset he was that he wouldn't get his last taste of SNS. Like he wouldn't make it up here. And if he had all the money in the world, he would buy it and keep it open if he could.
That's funny.
Somebody could still do that, I mean, it's and I do feel really bad. I mean, I'm almost 60 myself, but I feel bad for the old people. I can still say that, who really are in there every day, and I mean, it's the only part of Cambridge, as far as the squares, that's still real, like the older Cambridge. Like you can get a bit of a sense. Most of the really old stuff is gone, except for S&S. There's still enough that you get an idea. And because it's not one of the other major squares, it hasn't been developed the same way yet.
Right.
What do you attribute that to, Jason?
It is the T-stops that Madison mentioned. I think the pressure's only stepped up now with, this is the irony of the Green Line extension, right? Like, it's supposed to help working people who lived in those areas get downtown to work easier, right? And what did it do, right? Jacked every rent by $1,000 a month, like before it opened. And, they started building lots and lots of all kinds of stuff. Labs, which are now already outdated, right? And then turning into other businesses. And
artists are all going to work out of
labs.
lab. In 50 years, every artist studio is going to have a hood.
We're all going to live in labs. I know, or do art in labs, right? But if you go up Madison, up Prospect or Union, which you may or may not have done before, as opposed to just like if you went to Central from Emerson and then walked up Prospect if you kept going, you'd see all the new condos that are getting built. This is over the last 10 years. So that's development pressure, right? So now it's coming from both the central direction and from the Union Square direction, right? It really depends on how the economy does overall. And this relates to a lot of other stuff that you can cover, we can all cover, like the fact that the biotech industry is in trouble, right? The quote, the so-called AI industry may or may not be ascendant. I certainly don't believe it is. I believe it's going to crash and burn soon. But that might be the next thing or not for the area. If we don't have major industries like that, and there's not a lot of government money flowing to those industries, which is currently the case, then maybe ironically, for just regular people, like I think all of us, we might find it a more salutary environment.
It would be cool if like all students lived in suite penthouses and stuff like, kind of like post.
It could happen, something like that. But like all the office space they built out.
People want to live there though, so anyway, it's a great place. Oh, and by the way, since we're on that topic, you're writing for Cambridge Day. We're of course also buddies with our friends over at
Cambridge Somerville Independent.
CSI,
which is where Mark Levy landed.
Yeah, yes. And so this Thursday, the date. Jason's my date guy. The 21st. The
21st.
We will be at Bow Market starting at 6 p.m. And I'm having, I'm going to be having a couple of beers.
Yep, we will be signing people up for our newsletter.
I'm having one beer
talking
tonight.
To people,
and we'll be having 2 or 3 beers that night. I'm going to get lit.
Yeah,
and we're going to have a lot of giveaways. I really hope people come. It's a night for the Cambridge and Somerville outlets, but those who know that BINJ is often behind the scenes, whether it's working with great young reporters like Madison who end up, and we don't take credit for people. We just say, hey, yeah, we know them. It's all about hipster points for us. And,
Madison will go to network. That's my prediction, but we'll see.
But just as a couple, so I am wearing one of our new hats. This is the notorious BINJ Ready to Pry hat. We have.
I haven't seen these, Madison, by the way.
BINJ.news hats, and some of them have stuff on the back too. This is BINJ.news. This is also.
So you're going to have these hats on Thursday?
Yeah, if you sign up, you're going to get a hat for free. Look at that.
Whoa.
And we will have some hats for sale. Once we see what people like, we can put a couple for sale on the online. But this is some BINJ 10. We're, of course, almost in the 11th year, so you better get your free BINJ 10 hat soon. I like this one. Some cool, 80s ski colors, right?
Love the color.
Here's a Jump Paywalls hat.
That's a very Chris hat. Yeah, good.
You got the BINJ News on the back because we support that crime. And then here we go. There's another one of those, a purple one.
You made a lot. Chris has a special printer and stuff, a gel printer, right, Chris?
Sub. Yeah, we got we do this. We do this. And we have a couple friends and volunteers who helped also.
In our office in Inman Square, Madison, Chris produced, and John, our other colleague, produced a bunch of buttons, for example. That was the big swag of the moment. We had a button machine. And
we always have stuff. We've learned that donors ultimately say, listen, most people are like, keep the stuff. We're just like, but for those who do want stuff, we like when we see you in person.
I'd like to have some stuff.
We like to have some stuff. So we got about 20 hats, a couple other things, and we're here to talk about journalism in the area, which I guess we already started by having you on.
Well, so Madison, talk about, if you don't mind, a little bit more about yourself, and then we will shut up while you do that. So, like, you are from Revere. What else do you want to say about yourself?
What to say? Well, I'll start with some recent travels. I was in Madrid last week in Spain, visiting my cousin and his girlfriend.
Oh, cool.
They're from Spain, so that was really cool. I'd never been before, and I went all by myself. It was my first solo trip. It was crazy cheap. That's why I was there. And it was really beautiful. So that was my big moment for the summer. And then I'll be in Revere for the rest of the summer, reporting and trekking around Boston and doing all the fun things that I like to gatekeep from the tourists.
Right. Such as, for example.
Yeah, but as a reporter, don't you have to? Where do you draw the line? Like, what is like? This would be a great story, but I don't want people to know about this. So what do you? And you're a local. Some good haunts. On the North Shore, I'm sure. So where do you draw the line?
I think I draw the line mainly at restaurants. Like, I'll wait in line somewhere, or I'll go to like the Boston Athenaeum, and it'll be busy. I don't care. But I draw the line at restaurants. When I find a good spot, I want to keep it for myself. I don't want to wait in line. I just want to eat food. I don't want to have to deal with the reservation. I just want to go there. I actually got very upset a few months ago. Boston.com did a big video with like some fancy chef in Boston, and they were talking to her about her favorite places to eat in Chinatown. And she's like, oh my God, I love Taiwan Cafe. And I was like, there's like 4 tables in there. You can't talk about Taiwan Cafe. But here I am talking about Taiwan Cafe.
Sometimes it depends if the Taiwan cafes of the world want it. I don't want to say where I live, but there is a place that back in our dig days, Mark Hurwitz, the great Mark Hurwitz, also known as Hidden Boston, wrote about this place. And it's still one of my local places. And let me tell you, it put them on the map. I mean, you couldn't get in there for months at the time. Of course, that was kind of a different era. And the era before that, you could write about a place and never get to go to it. I've written about shows. Sharon Jones and the Dap King, Sharon Jones, rest in peace. Her big show at TT the Bears in Cambridge, which is now Sonia, of course. We wrote about it at the dig, and then none of us could get in. I remember I ultimately snuck in and was nudged up against the bar. But anyway, so Madison, what other kind of stuff, before we get to the immigration story that you did for us, what kind of stuff on that side where, this, not that all reporting isn't taken seriously, but some of the stuff where that kind of requires this skill. I want to talk about the skill set a little bit, what you had to do to report the story out. So what, anything else that kind of prepared you, or even other immigration stories over the years?
Honestly, this was my first big immigration undertaking. I was at Boston.com for a co-op at the time of the Alston car wash raid. So being in the newsroom when that was getting covered was very interesting, just to see how that unfolded. And then also, that's also the Globe newsroom. It happened to be like 2 days later on a Thursday, I'm getting my bagel, and I hear one of the other co-ops goes, oh my God, like some guy, like some college student was the reason that this happened, and being there to unfold it was very interesting.
So go for it. No, go through it. Like talk, 'cause I was all reminded of this, and I think what's great about your story is that you didn't, lead with that, which is what took over the news. So I'll do the credit. I know, you're a young reporter in this town. I don't, I'm not here. I don't want you to necessarily badmouth anyone, but how did you see the story? Because for me, all I saw was, not like I'm such a do-gooder, but it was like, people are arrested here, their lives turned upside down, and 9 out of 10 headlines were about some, this geek who, this cold-hearted SOB who, probably regretted his social media. But I don't want to misquote. So what happened in that regard? And then we could get into what really happened, the story that you wrote.
Right. So typical Tuesday, November 4th, like bunch of people are at the Alston car wash just doing their job, and then all of a sudden it seems that about 20 black SUVs pulled up, ICE agents got out in bulletproof vests and just started grabbing people without having asked their name or their papers or anything. So that was that. A few days later, it comes out that a college student was the one who had tipped off ICE that some of the people working there were undocumented. And that did not go well for that college student, let's say that. So I think I noticed that story quickly became, these people were arrested, this college student did this, and then later down the line, 7 of the 9 people detained were released because they either had papers or for other reasons. And then that kind of was just it. You just heard that 7 people got released, and that
and
the
how
lawyer
much?
was, yeah.
By the way, folks, I will do one quick thing if I can.
Go ahead,
Let
Jason.
me see if I can get this up here. I wrote about this when it happened. I'm just trying to see if I can switch out.
Jason definitely jumped on the pile.
Right.
Sort of, but I mean,
in a learned way. As
it was this one. Well, we hope. Yeah, I said appalled by the BU snitch organized, right? So it was a bit of a different take.
Totally, and no, but listen, with the attention, that's where it was, and I think if we did something silly, I think we'd be the first to own up to it. But Madison, your story, and I know the different facts came out at different times, so I don't want to, feel free to give credit to any other reporter who dropped any of that in. But some of the things that really stuck out to me was like, and listen, I know the kid. That's a story. I'm an editor too. I understand why that is hot and why. But some of the other stuff is also just blown me away. Like the fact that a lot of them have paperwork in their lockers on the site, which speaks to me to the obvious, the shock and awe nature of these raids. So can you just tell some of those details? Where did you come across those? And did, to your credit, is that stuff that we had to wait for? Is that longer term stuff that came out in the following months? Tell how that reporting happened.
I will say that definitely I was looking at for those that information of like what actually happened on that day and subsequent things that happened before I started tackling the story in, let's say, January. I was pulling from WCVB, WGBH, The Globe, and really anything else I could get my hands on because every news outlet has different little details, so I could just puzzle them all together. And definitely those details of like not being able to show their documentation, things like that came to light about a month later when they were released and they were able to, sit in a circle and really tell reporters in the world what happened to them. So that was that. But then that was about early December, and their lawyer, Todd Pomerleau, was saying, there's 2 more in custody, but we're hoping something will happen. And months go by, and there's just no follow-up on that. And I had been I started taking an immigration class at Emerson with my professor, Cindy Rodriguez, and she really encouraged us. Love Cindy.
She was on our board before, so.
Shout out to Cindy, Professor Rodriguez.
Yes.
Cindy's great, and she really encouraged us to just find a hole in immigration coverage, something that wasn't being talked about enough. Good. And I really wanted to go down the self-deportation route because you see the Christie nomads, you hear that you can apply through the CPB app, but you don't know what that looks like or if it actually works or how that's even legally possible. And that's where I started digging. So I wanted the story to kind of just answer a lot of the questions that I had about it. And then it quickly took different shape of speaking to different lawyers and professors about just how this whole idea of being able to return to the US after self-deporting would somehow be easier was just a false promise. And then I got on the phone with Todd Pomerleau and started talking about his clients and how like one of them from the Alston car wash was still in detention for seemingly no reason other than like backlog of not getting him out. He chose to self-deport after losing his case instead of appealing and just sat in detention for 11 weeks. And then he was able to tell me that he had another client who had a similar situation of losing her case for asylum and waiting for travel documents because she couldn't be deported back to Honduras where she's from because of the crime and terrorism threats there. So now she's waiting to be deported to Ecuador and she needs travel documents, and that has taken almost 8 months, and she's still sitting in a Louisiana detention center.
And she's not from Ecuador, is that correct?
No, she's from Honduras.
Wow. But they won't deport her to Honduras.
No.
Why?
because of the crime and terrorism threats that are present there, there's like a travel ban that the U.S. has, or like travel advisory the U.S. has up for Honduras, and they will not send her there. But she has had no say in the fact that she will be likely deported to Ecuador as of yet. So we'll see if hopefully she will get her moment to potentially contest Ecuador. But they're sending her to Ecuador because she might be able to seek asylum there, which does kind of lend itself to the idea that perhaps her asylum case was valid, but for some reason the U.S. denied it anyway.
Oof. What a shock. Yeah, so that was great stuff. Go ahead, Chris.
I just want to play something real quick. I'll take 30 seconds. So this is, I was recently at the Logan Symposium, which is a journalism gathering out in Berkeley, University of California, Cal Berkeley. And really for me, a local reporter, I do the state stuff. I'm around here. I just kind of kick back and watch people who do a lot of national reporting, especially, and learn a lot from them. And this clip real quick is from a panel about cities under siege, about, reporters from Chicago, Los Angeles, the places that really were, that got it a lot worse than Boston. Not to, of course, not to
make light of things that have happened.
Not to make light of anything that happened here. But so I'm trying to get the intro right here. But anyway, so Brittany Mejia, she just said something, and I don't want to put it in my words. So here it is, real quick, and it's about covering ICE after that initial. So
this is our first ever video clip. On
look at this. It is. Yeah, we got.
Yeah, all right.
There's so much that comes out after. Like for me, I'm a federal court reporter as well. And it's utilizing the court record. It's being able to get the body cam footage that showed like an ICE agent mistakenly fired his gun, even though DHS said that he did it intentionally. It's pouring into those court records, and yes, questioning what's told to you, following the case through. It doesn't end with the arrest. There's always so much more that is uncovered and comes out, and I think it's important that we not forget that. And then
So on that note, I will ask what, you, and by the way, this is the kind of reporting you're doing. This is like why this is why we have BINJ, because this kind of reporting I used to do at the Boston Phoenix, where, it's, you get to be, you're not a hipster snob, but I always like to be be like, oh, look, you all screwed everything up. Here I come 2 months later. I've now gone through all of your reporting, added these records and a little bit of stank. And, but so I'm going to ask you, what are some differences, from that early reporting? And you don't have to call anyone out specifically, but maybe some things that were, not necessarily either wrong or underreported. And then what do those elements look like in your reporting and your excellent story?
Right. I think definitely what stood out to me was just kind of the vague idea that none of the 9 people had a criminal record, and that the 7 that were released seemingly had papers or were in legal processing, but it was just kind of fuzzy. So being able to get all of that solidified was probably the first thing I was looking towards, because that's the lead, that's what has already happened, we need to get that right. So that was very interesting to me. And I will also say just the lack of follow-up was interesting, because the 8th person involved in the raid was deported pretty quickly after the other 7 people were released. But then there's Hector V in the story, who remained in ICE detention for 11 weeks. So the fact that there was no reporting on that, either one person being deported, one person staying in ICE custody, was very interesting as well. Oh, I had one more thing, but honestly, it has slipped my mind. But
I think you hit a good. That's quite a few things there. I mean, really, there's a lot of detail in here, and hey, we got to leave something for the readers. They have to be enticed. They can't watch the video. They have to do the whole thing, man.
Right. It's worth the read. It's a bit long, but it's worth it.
And you wrote I think 4 other pieces for us.
Yes.
You don't have to talk about those. Is there anything else you've written in the since we've last talked to you that you'd like to call out for a special favor, or what?
Oof. I've written so much.
Good. That's what we like to hear. So
I like the idea. By the way, you said covering business as a beat in Cambridge. And I just what does that tell us about what that means at the local. We're part of this show is talking about just local journalism in general. So what does that mean? Because obviously this is a strange place, right? You have several Fortune 500 companies. Google has a massive building there, the Microsoft Nerd.
Mhm.
So there's also the corner store. There's literally a hardware store across from the business we were just talking about. I assume this was a business story. You're doing SNS. So what does covering business mean in Cambridge, Massachusetts, where also I know the Harvard business is across the river, but also let's say one of the most prestigious business schools also on top of everything. So what is
T. Sloan schools there. So
this is quite the beat, business in Cambridge.
Yes, I will say, so I was at Cambridge Day for a year under Mark Levy, and then I took a 6-month stint at Boston.com, and now I'm back under Michael Fitzgerald. And it has taken a little bit of a different shape because Mark Levy obviously was a little bit more inclined with splitting Cambridge and Somerville pretty evenly. And then I was really just reporting like, this place opened, this place closed, which is really interesting because we had places like, there was a copy store in Harvard Square that closed after decades, and like
I used to go.
Right. That's important and things like that. But I think now I'm looking more towards like trend pieces as much as possible. Obviously, SNS closing, that's a big one. It's just a kind of a closing story, but I think we try to just ignore the big, like the Googles of Cambridge because the national media is going to pick that up. But I'm looking for specifically in my business stories when I'm pitching and writing is to try to pick out where businesses are creating communities within themselves, like smaller subsets of the community. Like there's a thrift store in Central Square that moved down the street, took over the door store, and they have a pool table and you can go in and you can play pool whenever you want for free. You don't have to buy anything. You can just hang out. So those types of places, that's really what I'm looking for. I think business has always been like, I think when I say I'm a business reporter, I have to always like qualify it. I'm not like a stocks reporter. Like I don't really.
Yeah, they're like People's Republic of Cambridge or Microsoft Cambridge. Yeah, and if you ever want to write a business story about someone who sells their magazines out of Found, props to my friends at Found, the whole team there. That's me, so we could do that, no problem.
Got it. I do love Found. I wrote a story about them while I was at Boston.com about how thrift stores are kind of like towing the line of secondhand, but also staying up on trend today, which is very interesting how they're able to do that.
I mean, they're embracing, I guess, unfortunately, from my perspective, algorithmic pricing, particularly Goodwill and others that are larger, with the result that, and they're also, like in the case of Goodwill, they have their own online platform, Shop Goodwill, right? Which used to be wicked cheap and now is wicked not. Because it's grown and, basically they're trying to keep up with the Joneses in terms of what the resellers and others are doing on these on these digital platforms, right? But what that means is that the people like on the ground that traditionally use thrift shops to just be able to clothe themselves and get kitchen goods and stuff, increasingly they're having trouble affording thrift stores of all things, which I find weird.
Well, and thrift stores, Savers, is unbelievably expensive now.
They're for profit also. At least Goodwill pretends to be nonprofit.
By the way, since we're on the topic, I just do a quick show and tell.
Yeah.
We like shows and tells, I guess we'd say.
I got a couple of my publications. These are stuff that go, my own collection. And here's what every kid's always wanted. Bill Clinton. And they have, this is bipartisan. They have these for other candidates if you want.
Is it a comedy book, Chris, or is it in earnest?
This is just.
So there's not a Monica Lewinsky page, or
no, there's no Lewinsky page. This is just.
Oh man!
I don't think so. Actually, I mean, I didn't check. That would be hilarious.
It would be really hilarious.
Look at these, though. And
that's really disturbing.
I have a million Mad magazines, but I don't always, I read them. And the thing about Mad is like, you really have to know the era, you have to know the era.
Yeah.
So, but this one, I
stopped reading it like in '83.
Sure. So. But this is the Mad 20, the dumbest things of 2013. So it's 12 years ago. And some of them were just really amazingly funny. I got to say, this is an Animal House, which is like with all those candidates. of that year. But you know what's funny? I have here. Look at this. I have a weekly dig cover. Hold on.
Don't forget Madison. We went.
What?
we got more information to extract out of Madison.
Oh,
So
do we?
go ahead.
No. I got this is critical. This is top level. Hold on. I'm going to take my portrait, my thing off.
She's already good at deflecting away from herself, though. So she's learned that lesson.
Nope.
Making it disappear. It's a good magic trick.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, now I'm screwing it up. Look at that. Anyway, look at this, though. We have a dig one here. This is a dig. Anyway, but this is this is a Mad that was just totally sad. Like really, a lot of really good commentary in here. Look at this, Wangs of New York, Elliot Spitzer and Anthony Weiner, and
this is old school stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, but Miley Cyrus, Buns.
Also old school now.
This will bring you back, you know. And Winklevoss twins. I mean, really, just I'll give you one more. Hold on. And you know, this is what I thought was really interesting. Ready for this? Just because, you know, the conservatives will have you believe that like no one ever said anything about Obama. Ready for this? The Drone Ranger. Look at this.
That was good.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. This is
they used to be kind of lefty when back in the old days anyway.
On the job, and then here the last thing is the day I said, you know, if anybody's just tuning in now, we are going to be in Cambridge, right? And this is the day. This is the 15-year anniversary. Is the day. So May 21st, 2011 was the last day that the Earth was going to exist, according to a cult. And there's a whole issue of the Phoenix with the cover styled after the Weekly World News. And we'll be also, in addition to celebrating the Cambridge Somerville Independent, we'll be celebrating 15 years since the world ended, which is
right.
My theory.
It kind of feels that way sometimes, but
it happened and you know.
Chris, are thrift stores still good places to find stuff like you're holding up?
You got to go in. You got to go inland, man. If you are, you know, I know a lot of people. You know, especially if you're not wealthy in Massachusetts, you're feeling it, and you're like, you know, you think. Well, the truth is, you live in no matter what, whether you're privileged or not, you live in a very privileged place with a lot of basically, you know, everything's been gone through. Drive 7 hours. In any direction up to Maine, into Pennsylvania, and I'm projecting here, but even for me, I'm thinking like, what's going to be out in these places? Everything. The world is out there. You're looking for polo knits, you're looking for gun magazines, you're looking for cool furniture. There is a ton of it. It's just everything's picked over here. Get into the country, drive 7 hours to upstate New York. It's endless. It's endless. I don't know how much longer. I don't know where you're going to have to go eventually, but it's getting to the point where it's all fast fashion and stuff. And that's
Madison, are you gatekeeping any particular thrift shops that you don't want to talk about?
What do you say it here? We only have like, 10 people probably live watching right now.
1,000% I gatekeep my thrift stores.
Okay, well then we won't ask. But I suspect at least one's in Everett or Malden. But yeah,
you can't ask because, like you said, Jason, people can't afford them. There are certain thrift stores I hold to my heart because I can't let them be gentrified. I also need to be able to afford my occasional trip to my different spots.
For example, right?
Exactly.
Well, you were in Spain, right? There's a lot of political ferment there and cultural ferment and interesting food. I don't know. Is there anything that struck you as interesting in your brief sojourn?
Spain was so beautiful and so interesting. One of my friends from home coincidentally was there at the same time. So we got to talking about, what makes a good tourist. And I had to tell her very respectfully, she's not what makes a good tourist. But that's
what makes a good tourist.
Well, you don't say thank you in English at the very least, and you're respectful of just literally everything and you speak the native language as much as you possibly can.
Do you have some Spanish? I forget.
I do speak a good bit of Spanish, although the Spanish accent is a whole different beast.
Yes, Ibiza, Castellano is a whole different trip, right? So,
is travel writing still a thing, or is it only influencers now? Are there still people that get paid to write for travel magazines?
I think people still get paid to write for travel.
You got to go do that. Like I like to tell the young reporters, if somebody's doing it, You got to be the one doing it. So if somebody's doing it, go get that right now. Find that angle, hit that publication, see what the columns are, and get paid.
Would you enjoy that? Like, being a travel writer? Because I do think that niche publications still hire, right? So
right. I think I would enjoy being a travel writer. I took a travel writing class like about a year ago, and that was really interesting, like trying to figure out what people define as travel writing, because it really can be anything. I think it sometimes can be too broad. Like, if there's travel in the piece, it's considered travel writing, but I think you actually need to go somewhere new or new in some way to have it be travel writing. So that was interesting. And I do think it would be
I think you have to not be paid by the person who's bringing you there.
Right.
That's what probably 99% of travel writing has always
That's
been.
hard.
Don't let anyone, one thing that's interesting is don't let anyone tell you that it's just like your generation or the, online influencers who are sellouts and do, pay to play. That shit's been going on for a long time. Doesn't mean there's not some decent stuff that comes out under that. But for me, I want the real stuff, especially about travel.
Exactly.
So whatever it is. But I think real information is always important. I actually was joking. I know that people are still hired. I actually saw somebody talking about.
You know better than I know, man.
About a lot of it is, unfortunately, a lot of people in those realms were always also in marketing, and there used to be a line, but now and I think I don't care ethically. It's not like a repertorial thing here. I care as a consumer. If I play pickleball, if I'm looking at paddle reviews, I need to know if the person's being paid, or at the very least, if they got the paddle for free. It changes it. I write about weed, and I have a very simple policy. If it stinks, I just don't write about it. So if I'm writing about it in the first place, it's something that I consume, that I think that is good enough at least. And I say, if it's kind of crappy and slimy gummies, kind of one of my little things that I like that are gross. But anyway, so what kind of travel writing would you do if you could do any kind? Are you?
Like, would you bounce around, which seems to be what you're saying, or would you go to ground somewhere and really dig in?
I think what I like to do when I'm in a city is just like hit the ground running and see as much of it as possible. So, like, I know the New York Times and stuff, they have like their 72-hour guides. I do that myself, like without their help. Like, I'm gonna find out where I'm gonna go, and I'm gonna go see everything. So I feel like any type of recommendation of where to go, what was good, like I went to the 3 biggest museums in Madrid. I have a personal opinion about which one's the best one. The Prado Museum, I didn't love it. How many paintings of baby Jesus can you look at in one day? Like,
45.
If you're in Spain, infinity number, but
right. And I understand it's the time period, it's the place.
Yeah,
I got bored.
I know, but when you look at it now, like the Christian artists are so whack that it's kind of like Jesus. But anyway, maybe
not really new, actually, but they've always been kind of out there. But, so you would do that in other places?
Right. I could do recommendations elsewhere in other places. I mean, I could do them in Boston too, but there are so many influencers that already do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's like the home base of everything that is unholy. Like digital marketing, travel. But not, props to JQ Louise, our homie. JQ is our old, our young old editor at our old newspaper. Did a great job with some of the travel stuff and local food and such. And props, but and spoke.
Was an Emersonian also.
Spoke at our conference despite having 100,000 followers, I think, back then. So and a super nice person.
But don't you all think that the sort of what has gone up will now come down with the influencer thing? Because I feel like a lot of platforms are already shitifying to the point where those people that did really well on YouTube, for example, and I watch a tremendous amount of travel and food content. Like on YouTube, along with all the serious lectures and they're losing people, a lot of them, right? And I'm not even talking about aging out. These are people in their 20s, and they were famous like a couple of years ago. They might have 1 million or 2 followers, and then more on other platforms, on TikTok, on Instagram, whatever. And they seem to be foundering at this point, right? And I suppose there's the idea that some dirtbags have that they're going to use, again, so-called AI to kind of replicate this content without actually being on the ground or knowing anything or, just kind of stealing other people's stuff. Happens a lot, right? I don't know. if you have to worry, I'm saying as a journalist, about influencers as much as you might have. Although, are you planning to become an influencer?
Yeah,
Is that an aspiration you have?
No. No,
So you're
no.
like us. You do not want to be an influencer. Yeah. So
Yeah, like I'll post on my journalism Instagram of like where I might be writing an article that day. It might be a cafe randomly, but that's as much influence as I'm giving you.
You know, you got to find how does it work for you? You know, how does it work for you? I mean, for me, it's like I'm so long-winded and everything that I never thought I could deliver briefs on weed news. But that's what I can't tell you how many people just say that under 3 minutes. Like today, the Cannabis Control Commission had 3 new members appointed by Governor Healy, and I was like, should I do a video on this? Every outlet's going to have it. It's basically from the state. And then I realized, you know what? I kind of have I know it. I get it. I can just do this really quick. And who's going to process this? So that's what I did. And, that's so wherever it fits. And the truth is I kind of hate it, but I like this. This is fun. We're going to turn this into social media. We're hypocrites. We're doing it right now, frankly. And honestly, this
doesn't make us influencers, though. Believe me. There's no imminent danger of that, even among old people.
Things, or at least we try to know things. That's what we're here for. And I've been trying to turn this into, Jason's the one who motivated and did this. And even it says on air here, I feel so official. But I got to say, like, the whole idea here is not for perfection. This is an open newsroom. I can't. We learn things. We'll follow up on things. We hopefully get the audio right. But we appreciate you coming out, and this won't be the last time, I'm sure. And I hope that also, when you and this is to you and any other young reporter out there, when you're doing these shorter local stories, we don't want the bullshit trend pieces, but if there's something real, like there's there's an undercurrent here. I'm seeing this kind of place go out, or this. Let us know. Give us when you have that inkling, and then.
Well, I think pretty well what we want at this point.
Yeah,
so.
we'll develop that longer piece, and also keep an eye out for those surveillance cameras that are not supposed to be there from Flock Safety and Cambridge, and then anything Big Brother related.
Oh yeah.
And you have a semester left basically now?
Yes. Just one.
And then, so what's left to do?
My capstone,
You are doing
documentary
capstone.
video class. I have I'm taking advanced audiovisual journalism as well. That's like a soft level class, just to bang that out. And then I'm taking a class on white masculinity.
Well, come back to us for that one. We got plenty of it on tap, I suppose. And then when you wrap all that up, you're done.
The classic, where is it? See up there, White Male Paranoia, the Michael Douglas falling down cover.
Yeah,
that's an old one also. Yeah.
You see that up there?
Mm-hmm.
That's the movie where he goes nuts because he's an entitled white guy who loses his job or whatever.
Right next to Tony Danza. He may come up in white male masculinity.
Definitely.
I don't know about Alfred E. Newman. Certainly Eminem and Dr. Dre may make a guest appearance. Spike Lee, not so much. Lenny Bruce, I don't think so. Bart Simpson, he might show up.
Maybe.
I'll stop.
So tonight. And do you have Well, I mean, it's too early to ask about plans beyond. We've heard some of your interests in brief. Is there any other aspirations you have after you get your super awesome journalism degree?
I would just love to get a gig at a paper somewhere, or a TV station or a radio station. Really, anything. I'll take anything. But hopefully,
hire Madison. Everyone hire Madison all at once.
Do it. They're all watching.
All right. Well, thanks, Madison Lucchesi, for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure. And I guess we'll be back next week with, is it John Riley, Chris?
Yeah, John Riley, one of our great long-form reporters. And he has a new piece coming up. And he's going to talk also about some of he writes about the things that you don't need conspiracies, because he writes, the history of absolutely crazy army programs and such. But we'll have him break it down. I don't want to give a bad intro.
Cool. So next Tuesday, probably at 8 p.m. We do bounce around time-wise and occasionally day-wise with this show, but it's been working out. So we'll be back, and thanks everyone watching. And I'm going to end the stream now by pressing the end stream button, and we're going to kind of freeze for a moment while I do it.